Welcome to the June 1st Salinas Historic Resources Board meeting. With Zoom webinar participation, it is available for members of the public. The Zoom webinar ID and link are available on the posted agenda in the city website. Can we have a roll call, please?
Board Member Shim? Board Member Hirahara? Board Member Hirahara?
So noting that the board, Larry is participating via Zoom.
Board Member Collender?
Here.
Board Member Reitman? Board Member Lesney? And Chair Mazgai?
Present. Welcome, and can we have staff introductions, please?
Sonia Segovia, Assistant Planner.
Michelle Mowry, Community Development Analyst.
Jessica Boitez, Community Outreach Assistant.
And Grant Leonard, Planning Manager.
Regarding public comment, there are time restrictions. Comments are generally limited to 2 minutes per speaker. We're open for public comment. Are there any comments from the public regarding items that are not on today's agenda?
Good afternoon. Denise Estrada. I have two announcements. One is that the First Mayor's House, now that we do not have government funding anymore, are putting on an annual sale, and that will take place this Saturday. This will help us keep the doors open at the First Mayor's. So our sale is called Art Antiques and Oddities. We invite you all to come. It's 9 o'clock at the First Mayor's. Donations are still being accepted, so you can get in touch with me or come by on Friday if you have donations. So this is an important sale for us. Secondly, I wanted to remind all of you that tomorrow's City Council meeting includes a public hearing, and that public hearing will be to get public input and make decisions on whether the formal name of Salinas City Heritage Park will be accepted for the future. It's been in use commonly for 3 years, so we're excited about the opportunity for this going forward as a very important branding to this historic site. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. If there are any other comments? If there are any Zoom participants, please use the raised hand feature if you'd like to provide public comments as well. Okay, since there are none, we'll continue on to the consent of the approval of the minutes from our May 4th meeting. Are there any questions, comments from board members? Since there are none, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Dean first, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
Eloise second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Board Member Shim?
Present.
Board Member Hirahara?
You might be muted.
I think he can just talk. Board Member Hirahara, can you hear us?
He's got his hand up.
It's
Yeah.
possible he's muted on his end.
We'll see if we can troubleshoot with Board Member Hirahara, but we can continue with the roll call.
Board Member Collender,
Yes.
Board Member Lesney, and Chair Maskey.
Yes. So we'll continue on with the administrative reports and wait to hear back from Larry. So, Grant.
Yes, happy to announce that we had both of our vacancies on the board filled recently since the last board meeting. One is for the mayor's appointee, Gary Reitman. He is not here today. But then also representing District 6 is Karen Lesney, who is, and I'd like to invite her to introduce herself and take it from there.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Lesney. I have the wonderful honor of just being sort of proved to be here. Thank you for accepting me, and I look forward to collaborating and learning more from this board. My experience comes from being involved in
Testing 1, 2, 3.
for a very long time, and also am current a board member of the Monterey Area Architectural Resources Board. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Was that heard?
Can you hear me?
Should I repeat?
Yes, please.
So, pardon about that. My name is Karen Lesney. I am a member of the Monterey Bay chapter of the AIA and a board member of the Monterey Area Architectural Resource Board, which we do much to preserve the local architectural legacy of Monterey County. My experience stems from my youth in Denmark to the various studies I've done over the years, and I'm just very happy to see that it's kind of culminated on being this side of the board versus presenting a project from that dais over there. So thank you so much for letting me be a part of this, and look forward to collaborating with all of you and what I might learn. I know I'm going to learn, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen. We're very happy to have you join us. Next on the agenda is memorandums and public engagement update.
Hello, board members. I'm here to provide an update regarding the ITC memorandums and the recent public engagement efforts. So city staff was asked to conduct additional outreach for the ITC before finalizing the memorandums that were previously presented to the board. Therefore, during the month of April and early May, staff conducted additional outreach through multiple one-on-one stakeholder meetings and one community workshop that was held on May 11th. The one-on-one stakeholder meetings were conducted with individuals who work at, live near, or otherwise are connected to the ITC. During these meetings, city staff shared key findings from the ITC survey, existing conditions, and along with staff recommended opportunity ideas that could potentially be implemented at the ITC from the opportunities memo. Stakeholders were then given the opportunity to provide feedback on the findings and recommendations, including identifying what they supported as well as any items that they felt that the city missed in the memos. And the May 11th community workshop was structured similarly to the stakeholder meetings, but included a broader range of Salinas community members. Participants engaged with informational posters displaying the city's recommended opportunity ideas, and the community was asked to rate each idea on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being strongly disagreed, and 5 being that they strongly agree with the opportunity idea. At this stage, currently, city staff is gathering and analyzing all outreach data in order to incorporate that feedback into the final memorandums and before bringing them back to the board. on July 1st. So initially, we did hope to bring it back June 1st. However, additional time is needed to fully analyze the data and thoughtfully incorporate the community and stakeholder feedback into the memorandums. And with that, I will turn it back to the board for any questions.
So just to be clear, we will hear the findings relayed back on July 1st?
Yes.
Okay. And our next meeting, I think, is July 6th, right?
Yes, July 6th. My apologies.
So it's going to be on the 6th then we hear?
Yes, so
Okay,
the
good.
next HRB
Okay,
meeting.
good. It was an interesting meeting. I thought it was a packed crowd that night, and I thought the informational boards were useful, and everyone seemed to be logging in with their pros and cons on each of them. So thanks for the city staff for coordinating that and getting the public more involved. Any other questions or comments?
Well, I'd just like to comment that since tomorrow is the public hearing for the renaming of the Welcome Center or the ITC, I encourage people to come out and have their voice heard about that, because not everybody's on board with it, with the name change. So I know I'm going to be there, and I've sort of reached out to the people in my community, which is the neighborhood of the place. And, many of them didn't know some of the consequences of renaming it, which has to do with MST, which I guess is planning, to move from their present place across the street here on Lincoln over to the train station. So a lot of people in that neighborhood were not aware of that, and I'm hopeful that more public engagement will come out and make their concerns known.
Good. The more public involved, the better. Although I did notice in the weekly that, and correct me, Grant, if I'm incorrect, the MST has purchased a 7-acre parcel that is in East Salinas on Sun Street, and that's where they plan on doing their whole operation. So it is not going to be part of the Welcome Center parcel or the Salinas City Heritage Park parcel. So it is going to be away from it, assuming that is correct. So what I thought after hearing that was, I hope they have a good plan for connecting people back to the train station and Greyhound bus and all of that. So the coordination between all the modes of transportation that are available to the public are easily used, so we get more people out of their cars and using public transportation. Grant.
Yeah, I just want to clarify one point there. Monterey Salinas Transit purchase of the former Sun Street transfer station is for their maintenance and operations, not for the main Salinas Transit Center. So that's where they'll do the maintenance on the buses, they'll have some administrative offices, et cetera, but the main service for the customers will be somewhere in downtown, which is what the current study that they're doing right now is identifying. One option is the ITC, and then there are 2 other options in downtown that they're also evaluating.
Okay. And when will the public know where the other locations, potential locations are? Or does the staff know, and are they able to share that?
Yes, Monterey Salinas Transit has a project website for that. The other 2 sites are on Alisal Street across from the post office, and then at the corner of South Main and John Street. These again are just potential locations. No final decision's been made. They aim to have their study completed by the end of this year.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, because I don't know if it was just hearsay, but what I got from the meeting on the 11th was that they were actually planning to move in the fall of, to the ITC of 2026. So, you know, it seemed to me like they had already made their decision. Was that just, you know, some sort of fake information that I was getting, or is that, you know, something that they are planning?
So it wouldn't move that quickly. Relocating the transit center is an expensive proposition. It also requires, you know, construction of a new transit center. So it's a multi-year process, and they're at the very first step of that, which is identifying a location.
Okay, so it sounds like we have 3 potential locations that are being considered. Any comments from the public regarding this?
Thank you for that report. It seems that in all the meetings we've had, the MST placement is always the hot topic. Informally talking to people that have come to Heritage Park, we hear that the traffic nightmare that could be created to exasperate even the current one would be a reason not to have it there. As one of the stakeholders, we'd like to see at least a bus stop there, so there would be some connectivity there. But the vibrancy plan also has some other possibilities for the land use there, and we want to also make sure that the parking is preserved for commuter rail, assuming that is happening in the near future. Okay. We're still going to need parking there for people who would ride Caltrains when that comes about. So that's the contentious one. I would like to clarify that the naming or renaming of the site has nothing to do with the MST. The report is pretty clear that we are asking for the name to be for the historic buildings, the linear historic buildings, not the parking lot. So ITC name could stay for the parking lot to continue there if that's what the council decides they'd like to do. But the MST placement and the renaming are not connected. Everybody's talking about those 2 issues, but they're not connected.
Any other comments from the public? How about from the board? Any questions or other comments regarding this? Okay, so more discussion to continue then.
I guess I do have
Okay, go ahead, Eloise.
a comment. I'm sort of concerned about the having the MST at the train station, because I'm concerned that the building, which I consider to be a historic resource of the train station, will be further sort of neglected and on the same kind of track that we saw with the Republic Cafe. When something is neglected a long time, you know, it just, the possibility of having it rehabilitated gets thinner and thinner. And I'm wondering, you know, if calling it the name of the Heritage Park is going to take away from the importance, I think, of having that station rehabilitated in the way it deserves to be rehabilitated, and not sort of put on the back burner for so long that, you know, it ends up the same kind of fate as in San Francisco, where they have the train station on King and 4th, and it used to be on Townsend, and that one was demolished in the 60s, a beautiful train station. the same as, you know, the train station in Los Angeles and other places in California. We don't want it to turn into a non-historic place. So I'm concerned that that naming of Heritage Park will take away from the train station.
Okay, any comments about that? I think possibly the naming of the historic buildings as Heritage Park actually brings attention to their importance rather than calling it a transportation hub or anything like that. So I think it could be quite positive to let the public know that there are historic buildings here, because I think some of them don't realize that. Any other comments from the public?
Larry Smith from the First Mayor's House. I think the naming of Heritage Park enhances the importance of all the buildings there and brings people's attention to it, so it's a positive.
Good. Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, next on the agenda is the historic plaque design.
Yes, happy to bring this item back. I think, Lily, I'll just hand it off to Chair Mascai to see if you or the other subcommittee members have an update to share with the rest of the board.
Okay, Sal Munoz was the main source of the new information, and he's ill, so we don't have his contribution at this meeting, so at a future meeting we'll hear that. But I think it's still useful to review the different plaque designs that we're looking at, and to encourage comments from the public or from the board about this. I think it's been 3 or 4 months since we had this conversation, and so let's look at some of the examples. Okay, so let's start again, and I'll make a little comment about some of them. There were 3 material options we were considering, and the most simple of those is a wooden plaque of some type. I'm sure most people here have seen the ones in Pacific Grove, and they have, they have 2 versions now. They have a newer version to their plaque program. And it's absolutely free to the homeowner if they qualify to be recognized. The city uses certain criteria. And of course, the building has to at least be 50 years. That's the beginning criteria. And I won't get into all the specifics right now, but going back to the wooden selection, there we go. So it's really sponsored by the Pacific Grove Heritage Society. They are the source for producing these, and the homeowner agrees to the way they should be displayed and maintained and that kind of thing. But it's absolutely free to the homeowner if their residence qualifies. So if we decide that this is the direction we'd like to go in, we would want more research to be done and find out if possibly Rancho Cielo or Hartnell College or the high schools, wood shops might be encouraged to participate in this and come up with a simple design or an elaborate design, whatever we want. But and then once that is agreed on and we're happy with it, this is what we would use. Also considering what type of building these would go on. Do we want, if we would want this type, would it be for all buildings, or should the plaque program be the same and consistent for all recognized buildings in the city of Salinas? So there's some consistency and continuity about it. Or should Victorian cottages, craftsman cottages, is this the right style to use for that type of a building? So next, let's go, before we go into bronzes, let's go into the County of Santa Cruz and also the City of Martinez. We're going to have two examples once we get to them. There we go. Here's the first. So in the County of Santa Cruz, they also have a recognized program with the Historical Society, kind of connected through the Museum of Art and History there for those properties that qualify and meet the criteria to have a landmark sign like this. And here we see one that's in the city of Watsonville, and I believe it's made on an MDF board, so it does hold up outdoors. It does tend, if you see some that have been on display for some time, if they're not really protected, they do start to fade, and you have issues like that. So like any of these signs, nothing's going to last forever, so that's something to consider. The cost to the homeowner for this sign with their program is $210, and it's up to them to pay for it and to maintain it and to keep it visible. And the second option we have is the City of Martinez. I've been unsuccessful thus far in getting a response from them, but I'll keep at it. So I don't know exactly how the program is set up. I don't find anything online to provide that information like some of the other cities do. But it's a nice looking program, I think, and it does give the address as well as a little bit about the home and when it was built. I like the color combination to it. Again, it's another thing to consider. And if the board and the public feels this is the way we should go, then we have more homework to do to find out which companies are good at this and what the costs are. And again, we need to keep in mind, so would this be on any type of building we want to recognize the same sign, same material being used, or do we want to open it up a bit for the type of design the building is and have options, whether they be wood or MDF or bronze or aluminum? Any comments or anything before we go on to bronze?
I'll just comment that the second one from Martinez is, for me, it looks like it is a better fit for our culture and town here in Salinas than the Santa Cruz one. The Santa Cruz one fits Santa Cruz because it's kind of the surf capital of the Central Coast. But I think this colors and the font and everything for Martinez appeals to me better for Salinas. It seems to be a better match.
Thank you. Also, once we decide what material we want to use, there's no reason why we can't design our own, with Salinas colors. I mean, the only city symbol that I've been able to find that we've established, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, or tell us what else is out there, is the city flower, which is chrysanthemum. So I would like, maybe that would be something we would want to include in a type of plaque. We do have logos in our city behind us, which we usually see in a lot of city correspondence, so we might even tie in with one of those designs as well. So these are just samples to show you what other cities have done, to give us an idea and to start the conversation. Okay, let's go into the bronze options. So this is something that the city of Salinas has just installed not too long ago. It was a pretty fun ribbon cutting day. It was packed. and the public was thrilled with it. They've done a great job with this Hebron Family Center. If you haven't been to it since its opening, I really encourage you to do that. A wonderful room set up for all kinds of activities for the public, not just for children, and a nice little park behind it. So anyway, here's the bronze plaque. Obviously, all the bronze options are going to be the more costly options, but they do tend to hold up much better over the years. So it may be money well spent. But again, we want to think about whether it's this size or just design. You can see the city logo as part of this in the circle. Whether this is appropriate for all styles of buildings. It's a bigger size, too, on this one. Here is a location in Santa Cruz, and so it doesn't actually scream Santa Cruz, but it's talking about the St. George Hotel there, the building, and a beautiful building it is, and I think this is a really nice design, and you can see they've done their homework visually with St. George up above, and the nice border that's on it, and just the whole presentation, I think, is very attractive. Next. So here's another one in Salinas, and this is at the Rodeo Grounds. You'll see it's honoring Mr. Sherwood. And you can see that's been there for some time. I think the Native Sons, if I'm remembering correctly, was behind it. Either Native Sons or Native Daughter, maybe both of them. But anyway, so the bronze is certainly held up, but you can see with fading and just the elements, it's a little harder to read. Now, maybe that's something in our research down the road. How do we freshen a bronze plaque? I'm sure there must be a way to make it a little more brilliant and not in a showy way, but so it's more legible. It's a little hard to read. But been there for many years. Here's a home in Salinas that has a bronze plaque. So it's more simple, but it does mention the house, the year it was built, and a little bit of information about the architect. Next, please. Here we're going to San Juan Bautista here, and you can see a combination of two bronze plaques. You have the top, which, of course, anyone will always be able to understand what this is. And then it's on a walking trail, so it's number 23. So you'd have to scan the code to hear more or read more about that. So this is another way to go. So we would have to decide, is this what we want? And how would it look on like a private residence? And what happens if and when QR code is obsolete? It's not used anymore to get in any information. And we have a new technology, so what good is that? Next. So here's a private home in Monterey, and it's obviously displayed on the entryway off the street there, so anyone just riding by or walking by can read it. It's holding up pretty good, a little bit of fading in the center there, but a nice design. Again, you can see it looks like Colton Hall in the logo there, City of Monterey, and then it identifies the house. Any more? So again, we're back in Salinas here. So you can see, I think this is the Native Sons, the local Santa Lucia parlor, and they have, I think, what's called the Phelan Fund, and how that exactly could work with our program, but it might be a source, and that's another thing to consider, other sources for funding this program. But anyway, it is a nice presentation. It's easy to see from the street as you walk on Gavilan Street there, and so I wanted to include that as well. Any others, or are we done? Yeah, I think we're probably done. Okay, so opening it up to the board. Any other comments or questions or directions, suggestions?
Well, I think if Sal was here, he's a big proponent of the QR codes or some identifying mark on there that people can read, but as I've mentioned before, this is a really good design in the respect that it allows people who want to participate in a QR code program or a walking tour to have a second plaque put at the bottom, and those that may not want to just go with the top portion. I also like the city logo that was used for the Hebron dedication that could be used in the same similar manner that the logo was used in San Juan Bautista and their type of a plaque. Do you recall what the cost of bronze was on average?
The fancier and the bigger and the more numbers and letters, it all adds up. But for example, the Thomas plaque, the simple one there, and this was a couple years ago, with shipping, it was around $400. It came from Pennsylvania. And then, of course, you have the installation charges that you incur as well. So all told, it was probably like another $125 for installing it. So something this size, which I think is about 11 by 14, if I remember correctly, you're looking at around $500, $525, something in that ballpark a couple years ago. So it's probably a little more now.
So roughly double the cost of plastic.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I think one of the things that I'm excited that the board can use, once we do have the new Page and Turnbull survey of our historic resources, this is going to be our reference guide. And that's why I want it to be as complete as possible, because there's no reason why the board and city staff, as combination, or we can't do our own walking tour, and this is something that can be online. So anyone who is visiting here, it's another reason for tourism, for people to come here to discover our wonderful architecture, because most people don't know about it. And that would include photos being taken and not getting too much wording into it, because you don't want to overwhelm people, but definitely, the name of the house, when it was built, known architect, and the style of architecture, and a little bit of information maybe about the original owners who built it, but anything like that. So many cities throughout the state and other states have done wonderful programs about this. Riverside, Pasadena, Fresno. There's so much that we can do as a board once we have the tools to work with. Any other comments or questions? So, yes, Karen.
I would like to comment on the fact that plaque that with the lower walking tour thing has also sort of a multiplicity of different uses. That lower banner can become something else, as not just a walking tour. You know what I mean? In terms of maybe it will say more about the person. I just think it has a lot more possibilities than just being a walking tour itself. And I do have some experience doing tours for the last 20 years or so on the peninsula. And having that kind of QR code thing can easily adapt to the new technology by just, that should be something that area becomes sort of updatable type, what do you call it, module that goes in. But I think not just that, I think just that lower thing can just give us so many more options on how to deal with the variety of buildings that we have here in the city. And anyway, I just want to say that I think this one really does have a lot of promise. And it doesn't necessarily have to be bronze, both of them. The bottom one can be a little varied if it's a wooden version of that with the more permanent, because the bottom guy can always change over time. Just something that gives more flexibility, because I think when you pay for something of this magnitude, I mean, there's a lot of work to go into it, and also secure the funds, that having something that's flexible finds itself easier to work with in the future.
Yeah, good points. Also, as a material, if we want to consider, aluminum is also is an option with a lot of these companies, and they do have a bronze finish to the aluminum. So if we want it to look that way and still be metal so it lasts, but get the price a little more competitive, we can go that direction. And some of them have a couple different bronze or brown coloring options for you to order.
If I may, that's correct, because you can anodize aluminum to look like anything. And that protective coating of anodizing aluminum does last quite a long time. That's what you see on aluminum windows today, when they're different colors. You don't see them fading. They may, if they get scratched, something might happen, but for the most part, from my experience, those have a lot of flexibility in terms of color. And also, we can do raised things, just like this is raised, and basically polished. And it's been, whatever. It could have been any color down in the background. So, I mean, we have being flexible to have and be able to make our own signage for this project. I think will really make the city proud of what we can do for them in terms of informing the public and also those who come to our town.
Yeah, good points. Any other comments or questions from the public, maybe?
Just wanted to comment that I recently discovered that there's a plaque on the Bank of America building, which before it was Bank of America, it was demolished, I think, in the early 1900s. It was a library, I think one of the first libraries in Salinas. And it was funded by Carnegie. So Carnegie did fund a lot of libraries throughout the United States. And there is a plaque there.
And then I went a different direction when you said the Bank of America. I said, oh, Eloise is talking about the historic Sons of Italian building right across the street, and there is a plaque on that as well. And but that was the 06 earthquake that pancaked the Ford and Sanborn building. But yeah, unfortunately, we lost the Carnegie Library, but we can't change that.
The Sons of the Golden West also donated that one.
Right.
And it's sort of obscure. I think people wouldn't notice it unless, it was pointed out to them.
Right, and also it would really help if they would have, I know it all costs money, but it's a nice memorial, but I would have liked to have an image of what the Carnegie Library looked at like, so then you would connect the dots, because right now it's just some words that say, yeah, the Carnegie Library used to be here. Well, what does that mean? Well, once you see the design of it, you go, oh my God, we lost that? So,
Yeah.
Karen.
If I may, the period that happened had a lot to do with the growth in the United States, and so we have to, sometimes when we look back, can be nostalgic for something that happened. The Steinbeck Library sort of was a decision to bring Salinas forward as much as, I agree that they should have kept the Carnegie building, and it could have been repurposed. That's something we need to always think about when something may not continue in its own intended purpose for allow it to become something else. So that's, what's the word? You can't stop progress? Was that The Graduate or something? But it was just, you have to somewhat be in the time versus looking back at what happened. And that was an unfortunate loss to the city. But, there is a building there that, in a modern sense, that also has a lot of merit. So I think if we perhaps were able to look at the notes that happened during that period of time, we would kind of go like, well, what are they thinking? But they may have been thinking forward versus holding on to the building. I too wish it was still there, but I think it's a lesson that we all should sort of hold on to as we move forward. Thank you.
Public, please.
Just a suggestion, as you're looking at the various designs, we worked at the Welcome Center with a company that's local, Signs by Van, and they have an incredibly creative team that helped the big diorama with the relief map on the wall there. They're great at historical signs, so if you have not already talked to them and maybe had an appointment with them, they may be able to provide you with some materials that wouldn't be the metal, but it could still be durable that a homeowner could afford to put on their home and other ideas. So just a suggestion.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Okay, any other comments, questions about the plaques? Okay, we'll have more updating as our research provides the information. Next on the agenda is the Salinas Fine Arts Collection.
Hello. So I'm following up on the question regarding whether the city of Salinas maintains a separate fine art collection. I spoke with the library and community services director, Kristen Lundquist, and she has confirmed that the city does have a fine art collection. Some pieces are publicly displayed in City Hall, some public libraries, or Sherwood Hall. While a significant portion of the collection is currently in storage. At this time, she did let me know that there is no online catalog or a public-facing platform where residents or visitors can view the collection digitally or in person. However, Kristen mentioned that while there are no current plans to develop the art online or public-facing, she is not entirely discouraged from the idea of eventually moving forward and having that as a possibility for the future. And that is my update. And with that, I turn it back to the board with any questions.
Any comments or questions? I have a few. The city of Salinas has an art collection that belongs to all of us. It can be used as another reason to come visit Salinas by tourists. No one knows about it. We did have an inventory years ago, and it's been requested to update the inventory. I personally did that a couple years ago, have got no response, which is why I keep adding this to our agenda. So we really haven't moved forward with any of this. Your comment that she's open to the idea, it isn't her openness that's needed. This is our collection, it's not her collection. And we have the right to know what we have. And if it takes a couple of board members working with city staff, we're in this together. So I don't understand the reticence on her part to move forward on this, because nothing's going to happen the way she's presented her response to you. So I encourage you to rediscuss this with her. I myself would be happy to get involved with this if it's needed. We need to know what we have, and again, this is a really wonderful source we could have online. It's how we get people here, and they don't know much about Salinas. I was just looking at a while back how we got this. I forget the title of it, but it's through the library at the City of Carmel, and it lists a number of their artists with examples of their paintings and their artwork. There's no mystery in doing this. Yes, it takes time. You need to be accurate. I'm sure we'll make some mistakes, but we'll correct them when we find out. But that's what makes Salinas special. But if we never move forward, I guess I'll go to the peninsula because there's not much to do there. You know, we need to stop that mentality. We need to move forward with this. We used to, in the old days, at the Salinas Women's Club, have wonderful presentations, art exhibits, flower exhibitions, and obviously that isn't happening anymore. We used to have these at Hartnell College at the library there in the 40s with Amex, the director. He encouraged all this. So a lot of Monterey County artists and other California artists were included in the exhibitions there. We used to have many exhibitions at the YMCA here, and Salinas used to have a Salinas Fine Art Club. We've let all that wilt and die. So the more we can get this moving forward again, the better. We have moved forward with murals. Salinas has done a great job with that. Again, it's not organized in such a way that the public can find them. There needs to be a walking, driving tour so someone, again, can, oh my God, have you seen all the murals Salinas has? I mean, that would appeal to multi-generational viewers. And again, it's something historic board member and city staff, a combination of us, we're willing to help with this, or maybe a different art organization. I know, but we need to move forward. We need to keep advancing, and at the moment we're not. So if you'd have the conversation again with her, and if I know she covers a number of different areas, maybe it's too much for one person. Parks is enough to drive her. You know, it's enough of a headache running parks, right? Restrooms are broken, property is damaged, or let's get the kids going. You know, Closter Park, we're trying to get it going again. So it's a lot on her plate, I get that. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't continue. She needs to relinquish or share so we can move forward. Any other comments or discussion?
Well, I just want to mention when I first came on the board, I thought that one of the ways to raise awareness about the historic resources in Salinas was to have like an art contest or something like that. And some of the board members did encourage me to reach out to our art commission, the Public Art Commission, but I haven't been able to do it because they cancel their meetings a lot. They don't meet that often. We meet once a month. They meet 4 times a year or something like that. And they cancel, or else I'm not able to go to the meeting. So that's like been 2 years ago, and I haven't been able to sort of connect with them. I know in Seaside, their historic and their art commissions are combined. So, you know, I agree that there needs to be some kind of a bridge with our historic resources and the art, which seems to not be happening. And it's important that we do that, I think.
Thank you. Any other comments? Karen?
I would like to comment, one, complete agreement. I have seen how well integrating not just on a parallel way of working with people. When I say parallel, say like a board and like a library. That to me is kind of parallel. But also bringing in the younger generation. We can't sort of dismiss the fact that if you want to get the younger generation to be more proud of what we are as a city, we should probably also include, I mean, I have no problem going and talking to some of the local art associations and whatnot, or even in high school or at the college. I do remember even at the Hartnell Fine Arts, what do you call it, gallery, there being an exhibit of some local work that was non-student. So, you know, we should take advantage of like that. You know, if we can have a liaison sort of relationship with her, is it Kirsten?
Kristen?
Lundquist, to sort of, I mean, I know when it's on your shoulders by yourself, you kind of go, oh my God, but just, if she can just understand that we are very much interested in making something like this happen for the community, you'll be probably surprised to see others sort of step in, even if it's just one body. One extra body always like will sort of like exponentially kind of bring out more awareness. So please let her know that, you know, even the train station over here, why is that, you know, the main station, you know, abandoned, so to speak? why can't that be a place to display an exhibit? It's like two forgotten things become one, and then they both are known. So sometimes you have to sort of like look beside or outside of your own sort of ideas, and maybe it's not the right idea, but you know, to bounce around possibilities is a way to sort of get out of a rut.
I remember we used to have exhibits at City Hall, just next door to us. And oh, you know, especially if I were in town visiting family and friends, oh, good, I'm going to go see that as well. And I remember I saw a wonderful Lester Baranda show there, and I went, oh my God, what great artwork. I mean, a lot of people don't even know we have, I want to say maybe there are 10, maybe 11, 12 of his paintings at the Steinbeck Library. They're kind of hidden all the way in the back, and it's kind of like lost. And the library used to have art exhibits all the time years ago, and they don't anymore.
I understand why they don't, just because of, you know, we're online more. But we need to somehow bridge that great leap we did onto smartphones and computers and doing things from our seat at home. But even if we do that, I'd like to be able to go Salinas art, fine art, whatever. Yeah. You know, what do you call it? What was I saying? I agree with that. We should be able to somehow do that and bridge that sort of odd gap of like technology that has sort of pulled so much of our attention away from our public libraries. They still can provide much to us even if we're just sitting from home. So kind of, you know, make if we can, I'm welcome to, you know, be part of this. I kind of have a passion for the arts as well, so. Yeah.
Okay, so
She's not alone, okay?
So some great comments. Looking forward to see how this progresses. If there are none others, let's go to the next topic, Chinatown pre-development activities update.
Yes, Board, happy to give an update on the city's activities on Soledad Street, 34 to 40, 45, and 37 and 39, which is the Republic Cafe. In terms of the new construction for 34 to 40 and 45, we are very near to having planning entitlements for those projects, and then we'll proceed with the requests for proposals for a developer to construct them this summer. That request for proposals would go out. Still a multi-year process for financing and construction, but we're moving forward. And then on the Republic Cafe, 37 and 39 Soledad Street, we are completing the emergency cleanup and securing of the building. We have a temporary roof structure over the fire damaged portion, for instance. If you go out there, you'll see that. And interior lead and asbestos abatement is just about complete as well. So that's moving forward. And then we are continuing to make progress on the building permit for the full renovation of that project. And we are actively seeking funding for that renovation of the Republic Cafe and partnering with the Asian Cultural Experience of Salinas on that as well. This week we have another community meeting in Chinatown. It is on Wednesday at 5:30 at the Buddhist Temple. We'll have our architectural firm come down as well, and they'll present the final designs and give a longer status update than what I just gave. And it's open to the public, and we'll have, again, the architects, city staff, and food and refreshments for the public as well. So with that, happy to take any questions.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Well, I just want to interject here that I kind of looked at the budget aspect of the city meeting, and I was encouraged to see that they allocated a lot more money than I've seen them allocate to Chinatown project this year in the budget. I think I remember something like $6 million or something, and that hasn't, in the past, as far as I've been keeping track of it, even close. So I'm encouraged, that the Republic Cafe will in fact, at some point in the near future, begin actual construction.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from the public or questions? All right, any further comments from the board regarding topics, reports, appointments, future agenda items?
I sent Yesenia sort of like a 5-slide thing about the standard number 6, which I attended. And I think it's such an important aspect of the rehabilitation of, once we get the Page and Turnbull and people start seeing that, they can rehabilitate their properties. I think it's really important to have an idea about that standard number 6, which in my mind is kind of like the heart and soul of the Department of Interior standards. And so I don't want to sort of talk about it that much today because we're at the end of the day, but I would like to maybe give that presentation, which would be very short, with those slides at the next meeting.
Okay, we can ask for that. Sometimes topics submitted don't appear at the next meeting, but in an eventual meeting, we see them. So it's never because of time restraints or other topics or research being needed to be done by city staff, we aren't always able to, the following meeting, get something discussed. So just keeping that in mind, we can ask for that in the next meeting, though. All right, if there's any other comments or questions, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.